So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live stream recorded for Ustream and also recorded for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. I'm working in Artrage, and this is the demo part, but I'm pretty sure that I'm actually going to buy this because I really love it. So if I go to File and Open, it'll bring me up my Badger Girl, and she's almost finished. Just got to finish her jeans. So apologies for earlier. What I wanted to do was to work on with the pastel pencils, but I've rearranged the desks and I've taken the big light away, and I thought I'd be fine with the other lights, but I've got some kind of flicker going on, so I've turned all the lights off, and hopefully now I normally work about 300% higher because that gives me quite a nice. And I work with a 1% pen or drawing implement. Now I've actually got the felt tip, and I've got it on pen, and I've got it on blending marker, so I've got it quite wet, so it's almost like a blendable marker, and I really like that. It's like a waterproof. That's on 29. I want to go down. Yes, we want to go to number 1. And you'll have to. It's the first time I've used 3 screens, so if anybody's got anything in chat, I'll try and keep an eye on chat. And excuse the silly voice, I've seen to have acquired another cold, so it's a bit strange. So I like to work on 1%. Down here tells you the size of your pen, and I really like that size because it's almost like, oh, that's the wrong colour, but it's almost like working. So some of the where's my little, takes me a while to find things. View, there should be pods. I want the samples. Where's my sample pod? Because my sample pod I tend to use quite a lot. Oh, I didn't know where my sample pod was. Wait a second. Ah, it's here. There it is. So what I do is, as I'm going across, I'm saving the colours because I'm terrible, and you'd never find them again in here. It's like a palette kind of thing. So I kind of save them. So when I was doing the jeans, I saved all these blues and purples, and I find that really easy. And I also like, under here I have this little tool which I love, so you can reduce it back to its normal size, or I work at 300%, and that's just a nice amount for me. And then you don't have to press any buttons, you just turn this gently and it turns the picture. And this is what I love about this. It's so easy to turn that picture, and then you've got a nice curve of your hand, and that's really important for me. I seem to have got some darker purple there, so again I'm just going to turn her around carefully and select that purple just to get rid of that we've kind of made a boo-boo. Then I've got the highlight, which is just going to hit the top of those jeans there. Then dropping back, we can just catch a little bit of a highlight, and this is what I do. So it isn't a cheats way, it's not a quick way, it's whatever you want it to be, but you'll probably find, and sometimes what you can do is you can go into your view on your pods, and you have a reference. And I don't know whether this just popped, the reference is here. So then you can press this button. Press this button. We're done with that one. That's if you want, if you're drawing from a drawing. This is a smaller version of this, so I can see here what's going on. So I can see whether that looks okay or not. So I quite like that again. So just put that on top, and just scroll that down a little bit there. And you can move this up and down, so you can play with the size if you want. So this is kind of, I think she'll go over there out of the way. I can get rid of that one, and I now need the blue. I think again, I seem to have lost some of that blue, so put that blue back. And I blend, as I say, I blend quite a lot, so I use about 3 or 4 colours, and I probably work exactly the same way as I would it's going to get a bit darker there because there's not a lot of light. You're building up the colour. Some highlights here that I've done and here, and again you can blend those in so they're less noticeable. And I find that I can just about swish this particular brush about. It's not a difficult pen to hold, it's kind of a rubberized pen, so it's quite nice to hold. And then I can blend all those dark shadows out again. And we can just now somebody asked me about a background for the little mice, so I might do that next. I just wanted to get a little bit of a colour on this one. Excuse me. And just kind of tidy this up a little bit. Because it looks quite rather scruffy until you actually pan out. And then you can do this and tap the top one and it'll automatically bring around the side. So that actually looks quite nice now. So there's just this leg to do. Suppose this leg's going to have a little bit of a highlight from this side and a bit of a highlight from that side. So again, I tap 2 in, and then I can give this, I can go bigger if I want to go bigger, and kind of get this colour down, because I do like this colour, and then I'm going to kind of get some highlights on it and then some shadow on it, and work light to dark like you would, very similar to oil paints and acrylics. You work light to dark and then you make your highlights lighter and then you build your colours up, and then it looks like a rich denim jean. It doesn't look like a flimsy silk, because the silk wouldn't be as kind of shadowy as this. And then I like to kind of keep a bit of motion going in that material to form the curve. But then of course we've got a seam going on, so we can turn that round completely the other way and put seam back in, and then just put maybe a little bit of a, I'd forgotten I'm actually on a bigger pen now, just that bit of curve to that leg, and then we can go back down to 0, to 1 rather, and then we can start to think about maybe there's going to be a bit of a shadow here, and then this is going to be dark, and you just think the same as you would, you know, there's going to be a little bit of a crease maybe. Sometimes I like to get rid of that black so it looks more like a painting than actually a colour, and you can bring that shadow down to its proper size, and then you just keep building. So here there's going to be that little bit of kind of something, and at this side there'll be a little bit more because it's away. So again, you can turn that at an angle and just kind of just build that up a little bit, and you can see what you're doing here as well, so that's quite good. Oh yes, Angel says it's that time of year. Yeah, it's definitely is that time of sniffle year, so apologise for the croaky voice. And then I'll probably go back to the paler one and then blend that back out. So all the time you're blending. And then of course you need to keep it at a nice angle. It's easy to work. You probably do a lot more work doing this digitally than actually you would if you were doing it with pencils. It's just I cannot scribble with pencils, but this is just sliding this over the top. Then I could just put maybe a little bit of a highlight across there. And then go back and again blend that highlight out. And I love the fact that at a touch of a button I can work in oils or acrylic or anything I want. And again, there's just something quite nice about that. Again, we just want a little bit of a highlight and then a shadow. And if you make a mistake, you just press a button and it's gone. So again, that's something nice about this way of working. Is, you know, if you do make a bit of a boo-boo, it's not the end of the earth. So again, I can turn her around and take that back and see what that looks like. So we're going to, just to match it up before I go any further, I'm going to go back into this side here. And this will be dark. So we've got some dark going on here, and then we'll turn that very carefully and we'll kind of put some even darker, because the jeans are going to be dark. dark shadows. And this pen's not so bad, this tablet. It's quite good for it's really quite good for showing the difference between where the pen is and what you're drawing on. So I really like that. Oops, sorry. Got to get used to this headset. I did like that bit of a curve, so it's a bit of a pest instead of doing this. But if you just generally stroking that across the page, that's quite nice. I tend to start scribbling and then my hand hurts. I've got to keep remembering that I'm just literally sliding that across, and it's really, really easy. And that allows me to actually colour all day. And I can work on different pieces. This has taken me quite a few hours though. There's 3 or 4 videos, and it's not a quick. I think people think it's cheating, although I've seen some people that just take a photograph and kind of jiggle around it a bit, and I think that's different. But you still got to know a little bit about your art medium. It's just a different medium. It's like picking up some new paints. You've got to get used to playing with them first. The beauty of this is, I can't now physically paint in oils or acrylics, or probably even maybe watercolours. So this is allowing me to do that, which is quite nice. And again, no washing out of brushes, just a tap, and here we go again. And this is what you would do, is just keep blending. You keep blending. Until everything was blended nicely. And you can really see that that's now taking shape. So if we bring her down, I would say she's nearly finished. She's almost done. I did want to work a little bit on this hand, because it's on the glove, because it's not as good as this one, because I made a mistake. One thing you have to remember, that if you colour anything and you make a mistake, you have to take it back there and then. If you carry on colouring and you've made a mistake, you have to take everything off if you want to change it. So that's just a word of warning. Because I know from experience. So I know I've got up here all my glove colours. So I can tap this one, and hopefully this is actually this, but it should be the same. So I can blend that away a little bit. So my highlight isn't quite as stark, and a little bit better blended. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. And then I can go in there with, and I want to be really at 300. And build a little bit of a shadow up. And we can have a little bit going on there. So now when we look at that hand, it's blended quite nicely. Is it just you and me? Yes, I think it is for the moment. Oh yes, good night, darling. Welcome to, yes, it's 2:11 in the morning, is it? Oh bless. It's 9th. It's 9:11 here. So take care. Thank you for joining me. Although it's a live show, it is quite early, so I understand that most people are not kind of about, or very late in your case. So hope to see you soon and take care and have a good night's sleep. So this is a live stream, but it is, as I said, quite early, so it's recorded for Ustream.tv and also for YouTube for people to watch at their leisure. It is quite early in the UK at the moment. So I might actually think about doing the background in here, because I really want to get this finished. And if I go back to here, it is an actual page. I'm just thinking, I don't know whether to do the background or not. Actually, I'm just thinking she might pop out if I don't do a background. Let's have a look and see what's going to happen if I do. That's probably not dark enough. You can tap in here and then add it here, so you're not going to lose it, I think. Now there is a thing called a bucket here, so in theory, if I press the bucket and tap that, it should fill it. It should fill it. It's actually picked up. It's actually picking up some quite nice effects, actually. I quite like this. I want it to be quite dark. Oh, and it's taken that as well. That's good. This is going to look quite cool, actually. I might leave the stars. I didn't think it would take the actual colour, but it has done, so that's quite nice. And this bucket will normally fill everything that you've done in between. It's actually taking out the stars, but and I don't know why I'm tapping hard. I just need a gentle tap. Although this pen is actually case touch sensitive, so the more I press, the darker it is. So I can get some kind of dark, really dark spaces. I'm going to take that star there. I want to take that star out. That's it. I don't want to do that star, really. I think I'm going to do the stars a little bit different and just tap into here and just darken this up a little bit. So sometimes that's quite unusual that it's done that. It's got some quite nice areas in it now. So let's put her back to... I quite like that. It's made her pop out a little bit more. I think we could possibly go darker, but I will just put the stars and stripes. I'm going to do those with the bucket. There's one there, a little bit there, and I think there's a little bit there. And have a star there. I think that looks quite nice. It looks kind of like smoky in the background. And we can keep tapping and making it darker, so I like that. It's getting some nice dark shadows behind there, but still leaving a little bit of the original background, which is quite nice. Maybe just darken up that a little bit more. I would actually like to get rid of that. nice effects on that. I think we can call her finished. It's got a little bit brighter now, so the light's kind of gone. But I think I like that. I think we can call her finished. You can play about for hours. So we'll file, and I've already named her, so we'll just save. And then we can actually come out of this one. Oops. And we can import a new image. And have a look where I want to be. I did the little mice. We've done the mice. I did the mice before. Yeah, it kicks me out. I thought it would kick me out. So that's so this is Artrage, and this is the demonstration version. But as I say, I will, when I get around to it, I will buy this because I do like it, and I think it's about £50, which isn't as bad as some of them. So I'm going to import, but I think it's on there. And I was going to have a play with her, wasn't I? But because most of these I'm doing very, very pale. I don't think I finished the dragon off yet. Oh, wait a minute, what's that one? I could do that one. It's upside down. That doesn't help, does it? So we'll oh, that's the other one that I started. This is the lion. If we go to open, oh, we had the fox. We had the straw hat. I was working on the straw hat, so we'll carry on with that. I hope the light's okay. I'll work in here for a little while because, and again, I'd made a mistake because I thought this was the true tulips. It isn't. This is the actual bow. So we need to change the colour. So this is at 5%, and again, I do like my blendable pen because it's quite nice to. It's quite nice to blend. Just looking at the colour, if that's going to be the correct colour, but we can have a go. And again, I take this down to here, and I'm going to add this colour. And then I normally add about 3. I add some paler ones, and then I go to some darker ones and some richer ones. So you need about 6 or 7 colours, and then you'll pick the best ones, but it means you've already got your palette mixed. You see, I think that would be quite nice. Maybe it's a bit too brown, is that one? So we could then go probably redder than, and then save that one, and even paler. So again, what we can have is a view and the pod and the says the sample. Oh, here are the samples. So we want the view and the pod, and we want the reference panel. We tap that, and we can take that over there. So this is what it's looking like as we go along. So that's quite handy. So you could tell whether that particular colour was working or not. And if you actually like this kind of orangey red colour, you could go to a pale one, so you can get a nice highlight on there. Then probably want a little bit darker down here. That looks quite nice, that. Doesn't look particularly nice now, but it will when it's blended. So again, the idea is to get some colour down. The odd slight mark you can get away with, it's just when you have a lot. So again, you're building that colour up. So I think this is a little bit brown. I think I would have liked, yeah, it's a bit warm, a bit reddier. And then we'll need the middle colour to just blend it back again. And then if we go to that one, and then we have a paler colour. That's kind of a mid colour, so we've got kind of three now. But that will make it quite rich in there, I think. And that's going to blend that back down into that colour. Then we can go kind of there and start with just a hint of a highlight on there. And then you can take it down to see what it looks like. So just bear with me a second while I have a moment. So hopefully that orange is going to make that purple pop. So we've got the pale, so we've got a bit of a highlight, pale highlight going on here. Now if you push down, you get more colour. If you slide across in the same place, you still get the same effect. So you don't actually, you could get away with not pushing down on it and scribbling like you would with a pencil, but sometimes you get carried away. But I've learned that, you know, if you keep going like this, you'll still build up your colour, and you don't have to kind of we'll go back to that one again. And this is what you just do. You blend those back into there, and then you blend that one back into there. And that's how you blend your colours. So they go from a very subtle kind of shade. We actually quite like that, quite dark then. I'm on 5%. I do like 1%. I like a very thin. It takes more work, but I seem to be more control over it when it's just 1%. It's like a fine marker. And apologies for that. But hubby's away, so I think we're probably going to get a highlight around there as well. So we can scribble around there. So I was kind of a little bit disheartened when I realised I couldn't do a lot more art than I wanted to. But this has kind of brought me back into the land of the living, shall we say. And of course you just have a little button that I press, and that actually moves this up and down, so that's quite nice. And then we can kind of go in there with that one. So I wanted to kind of finish this off a bit and then have a play, but I wanted to use the pastels today, but I think the lighting's off, so I'm going to have to completely rethink my room, and it's going to cause a bit of bother, but never mind, because hubby's away, so I want to get a lot of things done while he's away. So it does look a bit scribbly now, but you know, this is like the first stages of an oil painting. It looks very disjointed, and it's only then when you start to kind of blend a bit. And by curving this highlight, you are making the bow bend naturally, so we know there's a curve there. We don't have to do anything else with it, we just know it's there. And again, that's sometimes quite nice. So we can go back to its original size and have a look at that bow and see what it's doing. So we may as well finish it because it's going to get a bit complicated up there. So we've got the highlights. And again, I don't normally start with those. I start with the main colour because I quite like to do that. And kind of build up that colour. And that, again, that's the beauty of it. I can do this on really thin Bennett Klein paper. Now I can build some very, very, very strong colours in there. And I can go over them and over them with marker or oils and do anything I want. And that is just amazing. Well, you couldn't physically do that with the original. So you need to just get the original colour down, and then we go darker in there. don't think there should be a bark alert, but we never know. Although he is in the kitchen today. They've swapped places at the moment. I don't know why they've done that, but again you can keep building colour up and knocking that very dark back if you want to. And there's no quick way of doing this. It's exactly the same markings, except for I'm not mixing paint or picking pen tops up. But apart from that, I'm doing exactly the same as I would. I'm working in the same way. I'm working from midtones to darks to lights, and then highlights, and then blending until I get the effect that I want. I mean, you could leave it like this if you wanted. You could leave it like that. I like to go in and make sure that I've done the best I can. So I kind of go back in, and then I'm going to add this highlight. I think that's a slightly better highlight, that one. Again, take that back down to there. Just got to sometimes remember not to get a bit too lost, because if you take all the magic marks out that have been drawn in for you, you can get a bit lost. And then if you really wanted an extreme highlight, you can just have a touch of a highlight there. You see, that's gone very white now, because it's just like a blending marker. If it's blending over dark, it's dark. If it's blending over white, it's white. And it's only when you push down and you really ask it to give you the highlight you want. And then of course we've got this one here. You could take one of these markers and just give a flat colour. And because it's a grayscale, a lot of your shading's been done for you. But I kind of like taking this, and that's the mid-tone, so that completely blends that in, and then we just need a little bit of a highlight on top. And again, when you pan out, you see, that the flower's not going to hit that highlight as much as here. So we can turn that so that it's easier for you to get to. So at some point here, these are going to turn into leaves, but I think these two are bows. Oh, wait a minute, let me have a look. I think that's wrong actually, I think they're leaves. So I take all that off that I've done, because I should have had a look properly first. Oh, I don't know. No, I think I'm going to, if you have a look, that's the band, and then I think maybe, I don't know, I think I might leave that one and do the greens, and then those two are definitely orange. I think these are leaves. I think they're leaves as well. So you can take them off and have a look. Just tapping the undo. So I think this under here is, so I'm going to tap that back. You can put it all back in if you want to. You can put it right back to where you'd finished if you really want. And again, that's quite nice. So I'm going to take that back to here. I think that's green. And if we have a look at her, I think that that is going to go over here, and all that's going to be green. I was going to do that one. I was going to do those two, but I think those two will go over there. I'll leave those two till last. Oops, I'm not sure. And if I leave them till last, I can take them off and take them back without taking everything off. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be green. So I could tap the middle of green, and then I don't think I've done any green on there, so I can pick some nice greens. And some really deep. And things that are near to each other as well. You don't want them too far away. Oops. I'm not sure if I want to go a bit olivey. They're kind of a bit olivey. And then we could do maybe a very darkish one. So some of these I quite like. So I like this one. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be a leaf. So it's on 1%, but I'm zoomed in. So I'm going to just do one leaf and see what happens. So they've got this green here, and then we've got the paler one on top, and then we've got, I think that's the mid one actually. I think I like this one. I think actually I like that one as the green. That's going to be a nice green, that. And then we've got this one that's kind of really nice and deep. And that's going to look quite nice. And then we can go back to this one and kind of blend that back again. Just tone that one down slightly. it does have. We can kind of go back in there with that one. Maybe just it's nice to form the edge with a colour rather than a black mark or a black line. So this is sometimes quite nice. I think that's the one I was going to do pink actually, so I'm going to take that off and leave that one in the green, I think. So just have a very quick look to see what that looks like. And then that can kind of go into there then, so that's kind of. And then if we go back to that one, we can blend that back down just on the edge, that little tiny bit of dark. Oh dear. Right, so let's have a look at that and see what happens. Yes, I quite like that, so I'm going to have that one and those two. But there's 4, so there's 2 and 4, and they don't look like petals, but I think I might do them as petals. So I like those colours, and I think because we have a straw hat, she could maybe be a brunette. So again, it's quite nice that you can turn this, and she could be a red head actually, I don't know. Albany red, that's quite a nice colour. And that will offset the orangey red. The orangey red. And so we can actually just give her a skin tone now under there. It's just a bit too cold. Let's just have a look, see if we can warm that up just a little bit. again, I'm still working with a with a 1% brush. I quite like it because you've got a lot of control and you can build some quite nice highlights, and there is a little bit there with all this shadow, and it's a scanned in image, so it's picked up a little bit of colours. It's gone in, I don't know why, but it has done. So you need to kind of blend all this out and get a nice skin tone, and then you can build that up a little bit, and so then that can kind of disappear. You can start building up a bit of shadow going on, and don't really want anything to disturb that nice flat skinned face there. Just want to kind of, whoops, see, I've spoilt it there, but I'll be able to bring that back. Because if you build up the colour in one place, it becomes a low light shadow. You've got to be a little bit kind of just to bring that across, so when we can give us some kind of just make sure I've saved that one. I think we can darken that down a bit. And then we want we take that down. She's got a highlight on her lips. So you can actually draw it at 100 if you wanted. You don't have to draw it. And it would be quicker, but I just like to get in there and kind of sort that colour out. So we're here, so we do need a highlight, and then we want a low light, so that can go in there. I'll better ask if someone's... Just bear with me 2 seconds. Just remembered I didn't say thank you to somebody, so I've got to do that. Phone's been slow. Sorry about this. Just got to say. Right, sorry about that. Just forgot to say that. So, again, we've got now a little bit of a highlight going on there. And again, you can put that highlight on the top once you've got. So we get, when you tap that, it comes to here, so you know that if you go a bit further up, you're going to have a bit of a highlight. So you've got a natural highlight by just moving that. So that's quite nice. And again, the more you stroke, the more highlight you get. Oops. You can kind of really get a good highlight going on the top of there. And you can just kind of get some shading underneath that hat. So that's coming along. Quite enjoyed myself. I think I've got the poppy colour. Now this one, I don't think it can find it. I don't think it can find it. No, I don't think it can. I just would take that little bit of off. But I'm sure if I look up here, I'm going to find that purple, because all the colours that I use are up here, so it could be this purple. Yeah, it's near there. It's about there, so that we know that that's a bit of a purple. So again, I'm going to go darker, darker, and darker, and then we're going to have real highlight. We're going to have 3 highlights, I think, and that's going to give me enough to give this tulip. I'm actually on 400. I don't like 400. I like I'm quite happy with 300. It's quite nice. And then I've got a deeper purple to go in there. Look. Just keep blending and blending and blending until you got right to the top there. I'm going to take that back because I had that lovely highlight and I've lost it. So sometimes you can go back, it's quite nice. So I wonder how I'm doing for time. Let me have a look. Because I might actually start a painting of Alfie's. So just bear with me 2 seconds. Sorry about that. Right, I quite like that. So I've had a bit of a play. We know roughly where things are, and it's just quite nice to just scratch that little. It's kind of scratching on glass, but you're not on glass. You're kind of on plastic. So it's plastic on plastic is the best way to describe it. But it does actually feel a little bit like a pencil because I've got this screen protector on it. So if I take that off, you can see it's different. But I've got my screen protector because I can't be trusted. And it's not quite as slippy, so I quite like that. I'm going to put a little bit of colour back onto here because it seems to have got a bit dark and dingy. And, I just love the fact you can tap and mix hundreds of colours. You can actually set this so the palette is for each drawing you're doing, but no, I don't want to do that. I quite like all my colours. I kind of like all my colours around, so I haven't changed mine. And again, you zoom out, you can realise that they're going to get a little bit paler at that side. And then we can go back to the orange and kind of colour this in a little bit as well. So the first one's about the base colour, and if this material was laid out flat and the light was in the right place, it would all be the same colour. But then you've got some shadows, and you've got some lights. So we've kind of got this, and then so we've got that one. We could just do with maybe a little bit of a highlight that's kind of not a million miles away. And then we had a bit of a so then when we turn around, we can tell that there's going to be a bit of red behind there. might just put a little bit of red on this one, just to show what I'm doing. I think that's technically the wrong red. No, sorry, there could be a barcolet. I think that's the... So if I do this, I know that all these are going to be orangey red. And I'll just see if I've got that right. And then when I come back to it, I know what I'm doing then. I know we've just got green tulips. Oh, and that's wrong, because that's the stem. So it's easy to make a mistake. And this little man snoring down there, so apologies for him. And again, just to make it easier, it's quite nice. So I think if I do that upright now, I think, again, that's just a really scribbled down base, and then we'll take it to 0, and I think that it's going to look quite nice. So all they're going to be green and purpley red. So we've got the colours down, and then we'll decide what to do with the butterflies a bit later, but I think that looks quite nice. And I'm quite happy with that. And again, you know, that's the size of it. So I like that. So I'm going to. I think that's taken me up to the hour. So bear with me 2 seconds. Yeah, I'll have to. There's only one way I can actually get out of this. So if I can save that. Save the painting and come out of it. Thank you for watching. I have to do that on a different screen, so thanks for watching.